Dr. Ned, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
We praise God.
Thank you, Apostle.
So this is how it's going to go. I'm going to be asking some high-valued questions. I'm going to be asking some high-valued questions to our doctor. So it's in those questions that we are believing to pull as much value as we may pull from you. And also, the quality of questions we are going to ask you, we have selected them meticulously as we believe are going to determine or are going to be relative to how much we're going to pull from you. So tonight, make it your objective that as you walk out there, you have picked up the mind of a successful man. And trust me, some of you are just spontaneously here. Some are now already regular. It will be really, really the worst of you if you don't walk out tonight with the mind of a successful man. We are here to pull as much as we may pull, and we believe in knowledge there is power. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Ned, my first question to you is when and how did you take a leap into the kingdom business?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting us, Apostle Java, my Java. We appreciate it, and good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Thank you very much for coming. For me, the venture into the business space was fairly unique in that it wasn't something I woke up and decided. Our venture into business was really a response to what I considered then to be our calling.
All right.
When I was in Form 3, would you believe it? Just 15 years old, God spoke.
Wow.
And we responded to that calling, well, at least what I thought was our calling then. Only later on did we realize that it wasn't quite our calling, but it was an assignment under our calling,
All right.
which God spoke at that point in time, and we responded to it. So, in fact, we started our first business when I was in Form 4.
Okay. Wow.
And it's been that since then. So I'm one of the few privileged people who can actually say I've never worked for anybody except heaven. We responded to that call immediately, and in fact, I struggled a bit with my father, for example, because I then paid not as much attention to school. I was busy in business.
All right.
So when I was at St. George's doing my upper sixth form, I would be in school. I had the privilege of a car. My dad gave me a Peugeot 544 pickup. So I would drive to school in shorts, and the rest of it like a normal schoolboy. Then at 1 o'clock, I would get out of class, change into my suit, and go to the office.
Wow. Wow, remarkable.
That's our history. And so to us, business was not about us and about money. It was a response to a calling, which was very specific. When God called and said, fund the gospel.
Wow.
That's my primary calling.
Good.
And so that's what we do on a daily basis. And the business itself is a means to an end.
Wow.
It's not the end itself for us.
Wow.
So we are not in business for business, nor are we in business for money.
Okay.
We are in business for the kingdom.
Oh, great. Great.
So this may not apply to everyone because there's nothing wrong with being in business for yourself so you can feed your family. That's all good. I'm just saying our situation is.
Wow.
This is why we are there. How did we jump into it? Well, the testimony is this, that when we started, it was $100.
Okay.
Zimbabwe dollars.
And I believe that's 1986.
86, 87 back then.
That's $100 only.
$100.
Wow.
And we have the privilege today to be talking in the millions because that's how God works. Our God is a progressive God. Mm-hmm. Like the Bible says in Luke, he needs us to prove ourselves in little things so that he can promote us to bigger and greater things.
Amen.
As we prove ourselves in the smaller things.
Wow.
And so your beginning is irrelevant to your end.
Wow.
What's more important is how you finish rather than how you start.
Wow.
And that's usually the greater challenge we have in all sorts of spaces. Many people start so well and finish so poorly, unfortunately. But prayerfully, as we continue to be diligent with what we are doing, our end is always greater. Even as it is written, God distinguishes our end from our beginning.
Exactly. Wow. Wow. I noted 2 PowerPoints here. How you end is greater than how you begin. And business is a means to the end, not the end. Because many people are motivated by money.
Absolutely.
That's the most of people in business, even in church circles.
Absolutely.
But this is confirming, seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness. And all these things shall be added unto you. We thank God. So that makes me skip my second question. I want to ask you this last question, which is very important and key. What was your business original mission, and how has that mission evolved in the time since?
All right. Well, maybe just to add on to what you said a few minutes ago, we need to realize, ladies and gentlemen, that money without a purpose is dangerous money.
Wow.
Really dangerous. Half of the trouble we have in this world is because of people who've got resources whose purpose they don't get. Dr. Edwin Lewis Cole put it this way: when the purpose of a thing is not known or is misunderstood or is perverted, we all know what happens, isn't it? Abuse becomes inevitable. And so a Christian man who's got money he doesn't know what to do with inevitably goes to buy a second wife.
Wow. Wow.
And so we need to be very careful with the resources God has placed in our hands, just anecdotally. But excuse me. So just to move on to your second question, our mission was, as I had understood it, then fund the gospel. I had understood that to be our calling. That was our mission globally. But I then understood later on, as I began to understand purpose, and we're actually currently writing a book called The 7 Pillars of Purpose.
Yeah.
I then understood that was not really our calling, but it's actually an assignment under a calling. So I've since properly understood our calling, and our calling is not to fund the gospel. That's an assignment under a calling.
Wow.
So understanding those kind of things is very clear. So the beginnings of our business was in trading. We are pretty much part of the introduction of the fax revolution in this country.
Okay.
Ourselves and a couple of guys, if I mention some of them, you would know them. We used to trade in business equipment, fax machines, cash registers. I remember, would you believe it, I can't remember what year it was, meeting up at near the Parkade on Samora Machel with Zed Kudonaris.
Wow.
He used to buy cash registers from us.
Wow.
What I didn't know then that I know now, fortunately, unfortunately, a couple of years too late, is that the best business model is not a business model that is driven by trading other people's products.
Okay. Wow.
You are best served doing your own product.
Okay.
Because the value chain is that the person, look at a farmer. A farmer does primary business.
Yeah.
He grows the crop. Then somebody else adds value to it, takes the maize, mills it, puts it in a plastic bags and calls it palenta.
Okay.
And then somebody else takes that palenta, turns it into a meal called a Mirabelle restaurant. That's a value chain that most of us African people don't see.
All right.
And so we are very good traders of Chinese products and other products, but guess who makes the real money? Is the manufacturer.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
we would be wise to work across the entire value chain.
Okay.
So what we learned over the years let me tell you how I learned that. Very difficult lesson. Because what then happened was we were leveraging back in those days import licenses because there was no opportunity to import openly. I think most of us remember those days. And so I had a friend, a proper God-sent friend, and this is one of the principles by which we live. You got to help somebody else below you.
All right.
You have to. So what this guy did, his name is Alan Burke. Bulawayo boy, white guy. He used to supply the mines, the Anglo-American mines a lot, a great deal. And back then, you couldn't import without an import license. So what Alan Burke did for me was he had a revolving license that allowed him to continue to supply. So say he had a $500,000 US dollar import license. What he did for me, which amazed me, was he cut his license and gave me $5,000 out of his license.
Wow.
And so we were able to import some of these things that others couldn't access. And that was part of the help that we got right from that beginning. It wasn't cash, it was a license. So we were able to import business machines. So we'd import cash registers out of Singapore and so on. And guess what? As things will happen, you need to be careful that what you are basing your business on does not turn around on you and you are left with nothing. Because what then happened was the government opened up importation.
Okay.
Open general import license, it was called. And so my advantage, which was that license, died. So now the likes of INSCO or K's who used to buy cash registers from us could go and buy them for themselves.
Okay.
And I had no business. To make matters worse, the model of business that we had was we were just supplying the business machines. We were foolish enough not to see that more money is actually made beyond the supply. We were not maintaining these machines. And so what we then learned to do from that history, when it bottomed out and we lost everything, literally, those days I used to have the messenger of court visit my home every week. We had a TV in the corner for him, so that when he came to collect things because of debt, he knew that was his TV. He would take it, I would run around and rescue my TV.
All right.
Because the business bottomed out, as it were. But we thank God for his grace, because then we were able to quickly switch. So now our business model is that we are not very keen on businesses that do not have what we call annuity income.
Okay.
So we are very interested in businesses like Econet is an annuity business. You buy a cell phone, you get a SIM card, and for the coming 50 years, Econet is making money off you.
All right. All right.
That's an annuity business.
Okay.
You rent my house. I'm a landlord. We are property owners. I build the house. It costs me money. And for the coming 40 years, you are paying me rent. That's an annuity business.
Exactly.
That's a generational business. Unlike a business where you sell something today and tomorrow you may not even have that to sell. So in our minds, the business model has changed. How we started is not how we are configured now. We have changed the business model dramatically. We are happier with the business model we have now, because even during the switch over from Zimbabwe dollars to the United States dollar, guess what? I think it was Minister Chinamasa or somebody on a plus or minus February 14, 2009, announced the US dollar. That we can now trade in the US dollar. Guess what? I woke up the following day, I wrote invoices in US dollars, and in 2 weeks' time, I had revenue. Because of the business model. So your business model is critical, not only to you making money, but to your business going beyond who you are and becoming transgenerational.
All right. Wow. 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 Yeah, remarkable. Remarkable. Too many PowerPoints here. Too many PowerPoints. Your story is a learning booklet. And I love one thing that keeps cropping up. There is a God factor.
Yes.
All the way, there is a God factor.
Yes.
But now, I'm going to give you quite a lengthy time to articulate this very well. And this is where most of the stuff is that accumulated to the subject of this whole session. I understand you are a principal person. We want to hear what you deem as key principles for a successful kingdom business.
Yes, sir.
Doctor, what are the key principles? Bearing in mind a layman, a young man or a young woman who is starting business, especially those who lack capital.
Yes.
Because as I can see from the way you're talking, your business grew more organically
yes.
than getting capital injections. Now, and also bearing in mind those who are already into business, those who are already established, and I believe they are here. And lastly, bearing in mind people who are successful, as I believe we are all in the road of success,
Yes.
right? And their relationship with the kingdom of God, and how the kingdom of God, we have to impact our business instead of our business leading what we think or feel about the kingdom we represent. So we're going to give you time. What do you think, Doctor, are the key principles that we need to follow and we need to abide to in order to build a successful kingdom business?
Well, again, I count it an honor to be here and to be able to speak to this august house. We're going to share some of the key principles that we have just lived by, and hopefully God will help us in the process. The first principle for me is you never stop learning.
Amen. Wow.
In our story, after A-level, I never bothered to go back to school.
Okay.
I just carried on. O-level was a necessary evil to me.
Okay.
I don't recommend that today. Please do go to school. Finish your school if you are still in school. But I thank God that I had the privilege of going back to school a couple of years back, and I did my doctorate. I thank God for that privilege. The issue is school is necessary, and the learning process itself beyond school.
Yeah.
It's not about just going to school. It's not about getting a degree, because we have a lot of educated fools, as we would all know.
Okay.
So what's important is that you are not only learning, but that what you are learning becomes knowledge. Your knowledge results in understanding, and your understanding leads to wisdom.
Wow.
Those are the standards of heaven.
Wow.
Information on its own is not the end in itself. But the fact that I know this, for example, I may know that there is money hidden in this ceiling, in there somewhere. But that knowledge or that information does not help me unless it becomes knowledge.
Okay.
From knowledge, understanding, and then the wisdom to do something about it.
Exactly.
So as a people, we need to learn that we need to go beyond just the surface of issues. Wisdom is the principal thing. And it's not about just what looks right or what everyone else is doing. How you gotta find a way to distinguish yourself beyond what everybody else is doing. Because everybody else can sell airtime. But how do you distinguish yourself from everybody who's selling airtime? That is gonna call for wisdom. That is gonna call for learning, which leads to knowledge, understanding, and wisdom.
Wow.
And when you have wisdom, wisdom itself, and we've discovered this, anyone who has carefully applied wisdom has come to great wealth. Whereas some people have had knowledge, invent very clever things, but have failed to exercise the wisdom to turn them into a commercial application.
Yeah.
I can give you an example. The guys who started McDonald's
Yeah.
sold the McDonald's franchise to a guy who used to sell them milkshake machines,
Okay.
who realized that, hey, this could actually become greater than what the founders saw it as.
Wow.
And he bought the McDonald's business. Well, he came in just as a regular partner, and he grew until he eventually owned the whole thing. And look at McDonald's today.
Exactly.
So these guys had a good idea. It was working for them. They had 5-6 restaurants with the McDonald's hamburger. But it took somebody else who applied a different level of wisdom to turn it into the McDonald's that it is today. So you never stop learning.
Exactly.
Number two, excuse me. The second principle by which I live, which many people don't understand, is you need to take emotion out of business. Business is not about emotion.
Okay.
You gotta have a level of dispassionate plea and a dispassionate look at your business, because when you are in business, ladies and gentlemen, it's gotta be about the results.
All right.
Business has an emotional side to it, and you gotta be wise enough to take the emotional side of it to the right place.
All right.
For example, for someone like me, whose assignment is to fund the gospel. So the proceeds of our business is dividends and whatever. They tend to go to our charitable foundation.
Okay.
That's where the passion and the emotion is.
All right.
Where we feel for the hungry, the naked, the fatherless, the homeless. But to make money and to survive in business, you got to do business as business. That's why if you're going to get into a partnership or do it, you do business in writing. We don't know that.
In writing. Please, may you expand that?
So you're getting into business with your best friend. When there's money on the table, relationships tend to go sour.
Yeah, I hear you.
So we were doing a seminar recently on partnership. You can't do business on the basis of, no, he's my friend, he's never going to cheat me, he's never going to hurt me. Believe me, money is in the order of mammon. And mammon is a spirit that is not necessarily a nice spirit.
Yeah.
So when there's money on the table, let me put it to you another way. Money juices and draws out the real character of people.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
So when there's money on the table, the real Ned shows up.
All right.
Not the Ned who's smiling at you. The real Ned shows up and you'll see his real character. So it becomes necessary that we do things properly. Register a company. If you have a partner, have a shareholders agreement. If you are going to supply, write contracts, invest money in advice.
All right.
And do business non-emotionally, because as long as we are not constituted, we will do business at that level. The greatest way, Apostle, to keep a business small is to run it yourself.
Okay. Okay.
That's the best way to keep it small.
Okay. Interesting.
Do you think Econet would be Econet if Strive was running it, standing at the cash register himself?
No. No. Never.
So if he elected to run it himself every day, it would remain perfectly small.
Wow.
Any business you want to grow beyond you, you got to put the emotion aside, trust people adequately for them to run things that they need to run, to do things they need to do. Okay, let's go biblical. This is exactly what Jethro said to Moses.
Exactly.
You cannot do, this thing you are doing is not right. You cannot do everything yourself. You cannot sit and judge this nation by yourself. Econet has got 10 million clients. All of us have got an Econet line somewhere.
Sure.
How does Strive sit there and judge each and every one of you? Because the word judge there is not judge as in, Cade, you did this against that one. And no. The word judge there is a whole lot broader than that.
Yes, sure.
It's to manage a people, to manage a nation, to manage a flock. Because Moses was the shepherd to the nation of Israel. You cannot manage a nation doing everything yourself. So you got to realize that cash is not about you. Implement systems that will help you to manage things. And that's where, again, we are told we must know the state of our flock. That means manage your flock. Back then in the Bible, the business model was a flock, was sheep, goats, or it was a cropping business. So when the Bible says, know the state of your flock, you must know your business. How do you know your business? Because you got systems that report into you and tell you what is going on. Every day you must get certain reports. What cash has come in. Every week you must get certain reports. Every month you must get certain reports. But to think that you can do everything yourself is the perfect way to keep the business tiny.
Tiny. Wow.
Tiny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Intriguing, doctor.
So you gotta decide on a business model and a management style that you're going to follow. Our particular management style is we sit at the top of the organization. The model has a group MD who runs the group, and then we have MDs or general managers who run companies. Okay. And on a delegated basis, everybody reports upward.
All right.
That's the model we've chosen. There are other models. That's the model we've chosen, and it has served us well. The proviso is that you get good people.
Okay.
You need a good team.
All right.
All right. The next one. The next principle is, especially for those who are starting, determine certain things now. There are certain things you can't decide when the money is on the table, because the money will be deciding for you. Decide, for example, that you're going to be a one-man woman. Decide, for example, and be clear who your friends are. Because when there's money on the table, all sorts of friends come out of the woodwork. Alan Burke told me this in 1987, 88. He said, young man, right now when you're starting, look and see who your friends are. Because when you've got money, all sorts of funny people come. There are things you need to determine and say, okay, these are the critical principles by which I'm going to live. These are the critical considerations for my life. I will do this. I'll never do that. I'll never do that. This I will do. I'm going to be this kind of person. You need to determine those now, because once there are different influences in your life, the character of what those things are changes. Because money is very fungible. Money is unique in that it takes on the character of the person in whose hands it is.
Wow, wow.
That's one of the unique things about money. So money in my hands will help an orphan. But money in the hands of Osama bin Laden will kill people. So you know, money is very fungible that way. So you gotta determine now, before you even start, if you haven't started, certain critical things where you say, this I will do, this is who I am, and I will never not be this.
All right.
The next principle by which we live is you gotta be prepared to fight.
Wow.
That's one of the mistakes I've made. There were certain battles I didn't fight which I should have fought. With great cost, humongous cost, I can't even quantify it. I'll give you an example. In the year 2000, we signed an agreement with one entity in this nation. I can name it. It's a matter that's in the courts, where we entered an agreement that we would do this together. Speaking a bit to capital, we'll talk about it a bit more later.
Yeah.
I went into the market, raised capital. We raised in excess of several hundreds of thousands of US dollars in the year 2001. We invested in equipment. Equipment came. And we went to these guys and said, okay, equipment is here, let's start. And they said, no, we don't want, we want to do it ourselves.
Oh.
But we got an agreement. Yeah, but we don't want. If you want, you can go to the courts.
Well.
And back in those days, I was young and foolish, I guess. We didn't fight that battle. And so we lost literally hundreds of millions of dollars, US dollars.
Whoa.
Honest to God. Because I didn't fight a war that I should have fought. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, for everything that you want, you have to be prepared to pay the price. And the price is usually a war.
Wow. Wow.
Usually.
Wow.
So there are certain battles that I didn't fight, big mistake, and I do regret it, but God is a God of second and third and fourth and fifth chances. So we are fighting it a little differently than we should have then. And yeah, it's a mistake. It was foolishness on our part, but we've learned. We have to have the courage of our convictions to fight for the things we believe in. We have to. We can't want others to fight for us. So as a matter of principle, you gotta be prepared to fight for certain things in your life. You have to.
Brilliant.
It's, yeah, David put it this way. After he had finished crying and his congregation wanted to stone him, and he asked God and he said, should I pursue this? Should I fight? Or just let them keep my wife, keep my flock, keep my congregation, keep my business, keep my money? Should I fight?
Yeah.
The Lord's answer was simple. Yes, pursue.
Wow.
And recover all.
And recover all. Sorry to interject you. I'm sure this principle works beyond business.
Yes. Yes, it does.
And my urge is fight for your family.
Yes.
Fight for your marriage. Fight for your purpose. Fight for your destiny. Fight for your ministry. Fight for your gifting. Fight for your children. Fight for your call. Fight for your business. And you note that there's never been peace in the Bible without a battle.
No.
Even the Prince of Peace had to fight for peace.
Exactly.
So for there to be peace, sometimes war is required.
It's required.
This is very powerful.
Oh, yeah. Apostle, you've taken the words right out of my mouth. Because you know what? The reason why Christ is the Prince of Peace is because it is the duty of the crown prince of a nation to defend the kingdom.
Wow. Wow.
That's his job.
Wow.
It's not the old man, the king. It's not Queen Elizabeth who must defend the United Kingdom. It's the princes in the line. It's the princes. That's their job. And so if you are not prepared to fight for your kingdom, guess what? The enemy will just take it.
Yeah.
And I've made that mistake. So whatever it is you believe God has given you, and the apostle has mentioned so many perfectly correct things. Family first, your marriage, etc. But your calling. Because you know what? For sure, the devil is going to try and blind you or steal your giftedness, steal your anointing, steal your thunder. You got to be prepared to fight for it. Otherwise, it will be stolen. No different from the word that is sown, and in the middle of the night, the enemy comes and steals it away. So you have to be prepared to fight. Perfect example for us as Zimbabweans, Econet. 5 years of battle. That's why the man is qualified to be the wealthiest Zimbabwean.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
You may not agree with his politics, his whatever. The principle is he fought for what he believed. End of story.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
The next principle by which I live is that we all have weaknesses, whatever they are. And so in the area of your weakness, you guard that area jealously. In the world, they call it an Achilles heel. Every business has a weak area.
All right.
Individually, we all have weak areas. Guard those weak areas, because that's the door that the enemy is going to use to kill you, to hurt you, or to kill your business.
All right.
So you need to guard that area very, very jealously yourself, and those who are, I can really only think of one person who's good at this. In most of our lives, I can only speak for myself, my wife.
Okay.
And this is true for most of us. You need to be able to trust someone with your Achilles heel to say, listen, this is where I'm not good. I'm not good at math. Can you help me here?
All right.
So that that person can watch the mathematics for you. You don't want to ignore your Achilles heel.
Wow.
You don't want to ignore where you are weak. In fact, that's where you need to reinforce the most.
Okay.
For men, for example, concerning women, that's where we need to be in covenant relationship with brothers.
All right.
Where we can talk to each other and say, hey, I've got a risk here, can you help me? With my secretary, for example, she helps me in certain ways. There are certain things where I say, hey, I'm not very good handling this kind of person.
Okay.
Can you deal with it?
Exactly.
In the book, What is in Your Hand, we talk extensively about how to identify your gifting. So please allow me not to belabor that point, because we can buy a book. The bottom line is, whatever you are good at, whatever you're passionate at, that's where your money is.
Wow.
If, say, for example, I was to inherit $1 billion kindergarten business, kindergarten, I'll kill it in a month. Because I'm not wired to nurse children.
All right.
I'm not gifted at it. But if you gave me a business that is driven by certain components or characteristics that are aligned with who I am, I'll take it higher. So the best capital you have is your giftedness, whatever you are gifted to do. So let me tell you this. There is a guy, and you can Google him since we live in the world of Google. His name is Jamie Oliver.
Okay.
This boy is a cook. He's British. He's worth more than 400 million pounds.
Wow.
Cooking. And yet the average African woman despises the fact that they can cook. Serious. Jamie Oliver. I know we're speaking publicly, so I'm trying to be careful what I say.
Okay.
I met one of Jamie Oliver's managers.
Okay.
I flew to Cape Town to meet him. We were inviting him to invest in one of our businesses.
All right.
This guy told me that for Jamie Oliver to come, and you know how when they are demonstrating food, you stand in, you see a tent in front of Pick and Pay, and you got a sausage on a stick or whatever it is. For Jamie Oliver to come and do that for 2 hours, £2 million.
Oh, wow.
Cooking. That's what he's gifted to do. And here we are, despising our giftedness, trying to be everything else, but what we are actually wired to do.
Exactly.
The best capital you have is your
Is your
giftedness.
giftedness.
If you are good at talking, it means you could be a good marketer. You could be a good TV presenter. You could have your own TV show.
Wow.
That's how you should be thinking. Not to just say, no, my mother used to tell me, you talk too much, shut up. Well, mommy couldn't see what was ahead of you.
Yeah.
So don't despise that. Pick out whatever you are gifted at and sit on it, chase it hard. Paul said that that is where his grace was.
Yeah.
Your giftedness is the place of your grace.
Wow.
And wherever your grace is, that's where your everything is, including your money.
Exactly.
Your money is at the place of your giftedness. It's the place of your grace. So once you figure that out, certain things begin to happen easier than they used to. How else do you raise capital? Well, I said this in Arusha. I traveled to Arusha with Bishop Gatsi the one time we were preaching at one church there. And they asked me this question. Well, I've got no money. Well, yeah, it's true you may not have money. Number one, capital, giftedness. Number two, one of the best things you can do to yourself. Well, let me give this example. This is not my own example. Someone else gave this example. Find, if you are gifted at cooking, find some old guy who owns and runs a restaurant who needs to retire. Go to him and tell you, you know what? I'm here just to serve you. Don't pay me a cent.
Wow.
Let me waiter for you. Let me do this for you.
Wow.
And demonstrate the giftedness of God in your life. When that person retires, they're going to give you that business.
Wow.
But we are too proud to serve sometimes. Go and tell them, I will do this for the coming 2 years for free. And after that, I'll give you a proposal. You retire, I will buy this business off you, and I'll pay you over the coming 5 years. He's going to leave you that business, the stock, and the money in the bank. We've seen it happen. So we just need to be wise about how to do certain things. Another way to capitalize yourself. The greatest fun I've ever had in business is in acquisitions.
Okay.
I enjoy buying businesses. I'm sure we've heard of what are called leveraged buyouts. Who's heard that term? Well, anyway, you can actually buy a business of itself.
Okay.
How do you do that? You find a business that is due for someone who's about to retire, and you actually leverage the business. One of the businesses we bought, it's an agricultural business. We bought that business. On the day we walked in, there was money in the bank. There was stock in the shelves, stock with dealers. So I paid out money, and the following day I took it back.
Okay.
Because it was an ongoing business.
Exactly.
One of the things we need to learn as a people, starting your own business is not always the best. It's called leapfrogging.
All right.
You leapfrog, you buy a business today, tomorrow you are already in Chitungwiza. Not you buy a business today, one step tomorrow, another one. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll just take you time. If you have the opportunity, buy something that is running, well run, good brands, good name,
Wow.
good client base.
Wow.
Believe me, you'll do better for it.
Wow, it makes sense. And also, I see from what you're saying, when you buy an existing business, you are not only buying the business, but you're buying the name,
Absolutely.
the market,
Absolutely.
the clientele. You are also buying the human resource.
That's right.
You are also buying when you're buying equity, you are buying a machinery that is already
It's running.
at work.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's running. I mean, in 1993, we started the first indigenous elevator business in Zimbabwe.
Wow.
One of the things about me is I'm a crazy dreamer. That's one of the things, the principles I live by. Let me jump and go ahead. Live your dreams. So I dream crazy. While my brothers were busy dreaming about how can I start the shop doing this, a green grocers, we were looking differently. So in 1993, we started an elevator business. 5 years out of high school.
Wow.
In 2003, we bought the biggest elevator business in the country.
Wow.
Otis.
Wow.
We own the Otis business in Zimbabwe today.
Wow.
We do elevators. We acquired it. The day we moved in, we had clients. The day we moved in, there was money in the bank. The day we moved in.
Wow.
And so, how did we raise the money? You can raise money in all sorts of ways. So we mustn't be limited by what we have in our pocket monetarily, but realize there was a movie that was done years ago. I'm sorry to give this example, because in that movie they did it in a crass and crude way, called Other People's Money. You know how other people fund their businesses? With pension fund money. NASA actually funds businesses.
Yeah.
NASA. If you got a good business proposal, where we read, I don't know how many of you were following, Barclays Bank was sold recently.
Yes.
And the chairman of NASA, Robin Vela, came out in the press and said management had approached us and we were ready to fund them.
Wow.
So they were going to buy a bank using other people's money. Buy a bank using other people's money. So you got to be clever in terms of putting together, investing in a proposal that's bankable, that you can put in front of a pension fund.
Exactly.
They are looking for housing for their money. They are sitting. One pension fund approached us, huge pension fund that was sitting on $26 million. They said, listen, the bond note is coming. We don't know what this thing is going to do. Can we quickly convert our money into property rather than cash? Because they feared that it's going to become Zimbabwe dollars again. So they were actually looking for projects into which to put their money. But we don't do a good thing insofar as doing a business plan and a project proposal that is bankable. If you can't do it, well, approach someone who can. There are advisors who can put together a business plan for you. That makes sense, that's bankable, take it to a bank, you'll be funded.
Exactly.
In 2002, that business I was talking about, which I didn't fight for, we went into the market. We actually raised hundreds of thousands of dollars from just people we didn't even know.
Wow.
And in that business, we became a minority shareholder. It's okay to be a minority shareholder in your business. It's not a sin. We whittled down to about 41%. Then via rights issues, we bought back our business, but the business was going.
Wow.
So we mustn't be shy to bring in people with money to get us going, people with equipment to get us going. That's how Econet was funded initially.
Okay.
We mustn't have this attitude that says I must own it 100%.
Exactly.
That's very wrong.
Exactly.
I'm trying to be nice and to be Christian and say it nicely. That's very wrong. It's okay to bring in someone with money, with equipment, with resources that you don't have, but do a solid shareholders agreement, get your business going. With time, you can buy back your equity. Even when Econet was listed, Strive was not the majority shareholder. With time, he's bought back his business.
Okay.
So there are many different things we can do to raise money, including simple things like crowdfunding.
Okay.
You simply get a crowd of people. Get funding, do the business. But whatever you do, for Christ's sake, deliver returns to your investors.
All right.
Don't steal the money. Buy the biggest Mercedes-Benz in town with other people's money. No. They are investing in you to grow a return, to preserve their capital, to grow their capital, and to get a return. That's why investors invest. If you're going to be good, give them the return they deserve. For the sake of time, maybe let me move on very quickly.
All right.
Another principle by which we live, remain focused. One of the diseases we have is we tend to do everything as people. You're running this, you're running that, you're running that. That is not something you can do when you are starting. It's not advisable. You can do it when you are Econet, because you have the financial muscle, you have the people muscle, and all sorts of other things going for you. Right now, in scope, we started off selling chickens. They are now probably the most diversified group in this country.
All right.
They own the foods business, which is your Chicken Inn, Nando's, and all that.
Yeah.
They own National Foods, Colcom.
Wow.
They've got a beef business, Pro Foods, all of those things, because they have the capacity to manage them. Because you need to know the state of your flock.
Okay.
Any business you own where you don't know what's going on, you're going to lose the flock.
All right.
That's one of the mistakes I've made. Trusted people to run some of our businesses, and they ran them into the ground. So if you're going to diversify, do it when you know you've got the capacity to run them well while they are diversified. Otherwise, you just lose them. So remain focused. Focus is very important. It makes you an expert at what you are doing. Like Econet, they are expert at telecoms. Now they've got liquid, but they also own a bank. But sometimes we then think, oh, okay, Econet owns a bank, I can do that. But you don't know why Econet owns the bank. They don't own the bank because they are a banking company. They own the bank because it serves their telecoms business.
Wow.
So the bank is a means to an end. That's why EcoCash is what it is today. EcoCash, according to one minister not too long ago, has handled more than $5 billion in the past 3 years.
Wow.
On the telecoms platform. And the bank, Stewart Bank, is serving that purpose. Some people think that someone like Richard Branson is over-diversified. Virgin Money, Virgin Air, Virgin Gym, Virgin this. The point is, he's playing to his strengths. He's playing to his giftedness, which is entrepreneurship. He's not just foolishly diversified. There's method and wisdom to his madness.
Wow. Wow.
Anyway, let me move on. The other principle by which we live with a good name, it's critical. Preserve your brand, your own name at all costs. It's the one thing you cannot afford to give away, because once it is compromised, it costs a lot to rebuild. We are in the process of rebuilding one of our brands, and boy, it's a lot of work.
Wow.
It's costly. The brand was mismanaged, and we are rebuilding it. We'll get it done, but believe me, it's easier to acquire than to maintain.
All right. Acquire than to maintain.
It's easy to marry, but it's another story maintaining the marriage.
Wow.
Is that not true?
True.
Yeah. So acquisition is always easy. Maintenance is a different story. That's where the real work is. Not just maintaining it to say I'm married, but maintaining it and it's sweet. It's not a prison. So it's important to keep your brand, to keep your name, guard it at all costs. I like to give this example of a young lady, sweet young girl, her name is Margaret. She doesn't live in Zimbabwe anymore. Margaret used to run around and was dating the biggest philanderer in town. She was girlfriend number 28 or something. Margaret then decided, whoa, I need to get married. And I said to her, Margaret, your name in the market, in the boys' market. Anyway, let me leave it there.
All right.
The next principle by which I live is you need to have good anchors around you. What foundations you, what grounds you, what anchors you. Those are critical things. Because if you are not anchored, you will be fleeting.
Okay.
Money is fleeting because money is not anchored. That's why money fails according to Genesis 49. In those days, in the days of Joseph, money failed. And we saw that happening in Zimbabwe in 2008. Money failed. But those of us who were anchored in manufacturing, tomorrow we invoiced.
Wow.
Those of us who didn't have the anchor and were fleeting with cash, burning money, the following day, they were back in Bare in one room.
Exactly.
Am I lying?
Yeah.
So you got to be anchored on something. You got to be anchored. Some of the key anchors, your family, your spouse, family. Your business has to be anchored on something. If you anchored on a brand like Apple. You're doing iPads. That's a solid brand on which to anchor. But in this instance, the bad part is it's not your brand. So we create brands. We buy brands.
Wow.
We have brands. Little did I know, growing up as a young man, my father used to do some farming.
Okay.
We used to use knapsack sprayers. You know those things you put at the back and you spray chemicals? Those are called knapsack sprayers.
All right.
I remember, and my father still has today, a knapsack sprayer made by Taurus. I don't know if anybody has had that brand. If you are a farmer, you know Taurus. Or you know Ag Venture. Little did I know that 15 years later, we would own that brand.
Wow.
We bought the company and its brands. So Taurus is one of our brands.
Yeah.
The only manufacturer of knapsack sprayers outside of South Africa on the continent. Because we see the value in these things way ahead of others seeing it. A friend of mine was telling me yesterday that we have an agro-processing business. He was telling me that he's got the intellectual property rights to blueberries.
Okay.
I'm saying, but how on earth do you get property rights to blueberries?
Yeah.
So apparently, and I do not know if this is correct, but if you want to grow certain blueberries, you have to pay him money.
Wow. Wow.
You have to pay him royalties because he's got the rights. The Microsoft business, Apple, we used to own the Van Heusen, we used to own Continental Fashions. When we looked at that business and we looked at its brands, we realized that a company like Philips Van Heusen, you can Google this, they don't manufacture clothes. You know the Van Heusen shirt and whatever.
Yes.
They don't make them. They are made in China. What they own is the brand.
Wow.
So if you look at their balance sheet, the biggest item on their balance sheet is the value of the brand. Not the factory that manufactures.
But the brand.
But the brand. For Apple, Microsoft is the intellectual property, which is the brand.
Exactly.
The source codes for your software and all of those things. That's where we need to go.
Okay. The intellectual property.
The intellectual property.
And the branding.
Yes. That's where the money is. So you can have a Samsung phone or an Android phone or whatever it might be, but the branding and the IP behind it is the real money.
Okay.
Steve Jobs didn't create anything fancy. He just took what was there, cleverly packaged it, painted it, and is a billionaire. Let me move on. Anchors, key anchors. For me, I'm anchored in Jesus.
Wow.
I'm anchored in my Christ.
Amen.
So I'm predictable. Predictability is important in business. You can predict that if you wake up tomorrow, your Econet phone is going to work, right? It's called predictability. If you didn't know that, you may not buy that brand. Correct? So predictability is very important.
Yeah.
The only place where unpredictability works is in romance. Where my Java must expect to be surprised. Today it's flowers, tomorrow it's dinner. That unpredictability only works in romance. In business, predictability is necessary.
Wow.
It's very necessary. People have to know that they wake up tomorrow, your shop is going to open at 8. Because you know what? They're going to rush from their house saying, you know what? If they open at 8, I'll buy this quickly. I didn't buy tuck for my child. I'll buy it quickly and I'll run. There you are, you show up, you open at 8:30. I'll never come to you again. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If 8 o'clock is your opening time, it's 8 o'clock.
Exactly.
That predictability is very important. So what anchors you? For us as Christians, Christ, number one.
Yeah.
For those of us who are married, your spouse, family. Those are key anchors for anybody who would go anywhere. Sober habits. Those are key anchors. Why? Because you are your habits.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want. You can say I'm a very dependable person. But if your habits say otherwise, then you are lying to yourself. Because all of us, we are our habits. We are what we do habitually. If you want to define yourself, what is your character? What is the character of your business? Your business is what it is habitually.
Wow.
You are what you are habitually. So if you lie every day, don't say I lie, I lie. No, just say I'm a liar. let's make it easy. Just so those are some of the key things that must anchor us, because that brings certain solidity, predictability. People know what to expect from you. People, it should be that if someone hears that Apostle stole money, these people must say, "I never, come what may, never," because they know your habits, they know your character.
Yeah.
So what is the habits of your business, and what is the character of your business?
Wow. Habits and character.
Absolutely. Because you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Every leader brings character to an organization. The character of Zimbabwe is the leaders of Zimbabwe. So if we're going to say Zimbabweans are very nice people, educated people like we are, it's because of Robert Mugabe. He's highly educated. He believes in education. So that's our character.
Exactly.
A home is charactered by its father.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whoever is leading it. There are some homes that are headed by ladies, all good.
Right.
Whoever is running, the leader of an organization gives character to that organization. So to me, it's a key issue.
Yeah.
It really is a key issue to say what is anchoring this organization.
Wow.
And our habits, our characteristics, they speak to who we are and who an organization is. Yeah. Let me, just two more and I'm done.
Great.
The team around you, who is surrounding you, is a key issue. Because the team around us often determines our success or failure. If you look at any leader, the people around them are key components of their success or failure. It's true of Moses.
Exactly.
It's true of David. It's true of Christ.
Yeah.
It's true of our churches.
Yeah.
The people around us are key. And in business, even if it's your business, be clever and choose to be accountable. One of the things that distinguished us very early in our organization is we instituted boards.
Wow.
Boards of directors, where I allowed, even if it was my business and I could do what I wanted, we allowed our boards to criticize us, to tell us, no, this is nonsense, you can't do this. To critique us as best as they could. And we were humble enough to take the criticism, and guess what? It built us.
Yeah.
If you are beyond criticism, you can't be built. You are not teachable. You are a know-it-all, and which means you know nothing.
Wow.
A know-it-all really knows nothing because you don't know the fundamental. So choose to institute around you a team that brings you to accountability. Usually that is a board of directors if you are a business. And allow these people to tell you this is right, this is wrong. They are there to help you build your business. Your management team, your staff, your family. Your family is a team around you.
Yeah.
Those are critical things that help you build. Do you realize, Apostle?
Yeah.
David
Yeah.
had to fight not a giant, but giants. He fought and killed one called Goliath. But there were 4 others.
Yeah.
4.
4.
It is written.
Exactly.
It is written. One was called Ishbibinob. The other one was called Lamich. And I forget the names of the others.
Yeah.
We teach on this. The point is this, ladies and gentlemen, you can't kill every giant in your life yourself.
Wow.
We read in David's account that in fact there came a time when David was weary. And one of Goliath's brothers, Ishbibinob, saw the chance to kill David.
Yeah.
He actually attacked David deliberately. And it was one of David's team members. It's actually written somewhere that these giants were killed by David's servants.
Servants, yeah.
It was one of these guys, I forget his name, who actually then fought Ishbibinob and killed him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, David would have died.
Yeah.
And that's where we get the statement that says that we could not allow the light of Israel to be extinguished.
Amen. Wow.
There are giants that will come that I can't fight.
Exactly. Exactly.
Whether it's because I'm technically challenged in that area. I'm not an accountant. So there is a giant there, someone wants to steal money.
Wow.
But I must have team members. Servants around me is the term used in David's account. And that word servant does not mean an employee or someone sweeping your floor. It means resources that are available to you. It means your team members.
True.
Those servants. And guess what? Those 4 giants were killed, the Bible records, by David's servants. He killed 1 out of 5. The other 4, he was too weary, too old, or whatever it is to fight. That's the day they banned David from going to war.
Wow. Wow.
And the boy said, you know what? You don't have to go to war. We'll take care of it.
Wow.
There are certain battles, Apostle, you shouldn't have to fight.
Amen.
Your team should fight them for you.
True. True. Wow. And before you go to your last point, I'm saying, just to confirm what you are saying as a preacher.
Indeed.
From that perspective, David picked 5 stones.
Yes.
And used only 1.
Absolutely. Same
Yeah.
truth.
And used only 1. And left the other 4.
Absolutely.
And now, because few chapters later, 4 more giants. That means he perceived
He
there were
saw
more
it.
giants. Wow.
Apostle, you are perfectly right.
Wow.
You are that's the point.
Wow.
That's the point. So there, you as the leader, you are equipped with certain things that God gives you in your giftedness.
Exactly.
You are.
Wow.
So your quiver is full of certain power, strength, stones, arrows, whatever it might be. But it doesn't mean you must shoot all of them. It's written in David's account that the other giants were killed by David's servants.
Amen.
He stopped fighting, whether it was because he was old. You know what, guys? Wherever we are, I've built a system where there are certain wars I won't fight because I am the light of my organization.
Wow.
If I am extinguished, my organization is done.
True.
So I have a team around me that fight different battles.
Wow.
There are certain places you won't see me, not because I'm too proud to go and sweep the floor, but there are certain giants I can't go and confront myself because they could kill me. Ishbibenob could have killed David and extinguished the light of Israel. It's biblical, it's there.
Yeah.
But one of his guys, one of those guys from the cave, busted, disgusted, discounted, useless guys who were in trouble when they joined.
3Ds, exactly.
They came and fought this war for him. And on that day, they said, David, this is not you anymore. Your days of war are over. We'll take care of it.
Wow. Wow.
So the team around us, ladies and gentlemen, is critical. There must be people who are ready to serve. Yes, of course, in a business, you pay them. But there must be people who understand these dynamics to say, when the chairman, such as I am, is not going to fight this war, it's not because he's throwing me to the wolves, but because we can't have him compromised.
Yeah.
We must fight these wars.
Wow.
It's a key principle.
Wow.
So there are certain things I won't do that the team around me must do.
Must do.
And if they fail, imagine, for example, if you made a statement that is compromised or misunderstood in the press, it compromises the whole organization.
Exactly.
But if you have a spokesman, you can easily say, no, the spokesman was wrong. I am the father. I am the head, and I'm correcting it. But if you made the mistakes, who's going to correct you?
True.
It means the organization is done.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's why organizations have spokespeople. Because the head of that organization can't be quoted saying certain things because they could be misinterpreted. My final point, purpose.
Purpose.
Purpose. Purpose. In talking about purpose, ladies and gentlemen, the point about purpose is that purpose is Christ-centered. So whatever it is we are doing, it's got to be about Christ. I'm not saying you must be like me and suddenly you are also called to fund the gospel. That's not what I'm saying. But you know what? It's important to understand that you've been placed wherever you are, not by mistake. If you are a part of this ministry, you are here for a reason.
Exactly.
And one of the simplest things I can tell you, God has attached you to his servant so that you can support him. I'm not even shy to say it.
Yeah.
I know there are people from different places, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
But if you are in this house and this is your ministry, this is where you feed, it's biblical, you are here because God has attached you to his servant for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's nothing for us to apologize for. Okay? Your purpose, whatever it is, has to be Christ-centered. You got to realize that the reason why you are doing what you're doing is because of purpose.
Yeah.
Whether your purpose is just to feed your two children, send them to university so that they become the next president of Zimbabwe, that's purpose, that's good.
Exactly.
We are currently writing a book called The 7 Pillars of Purpose, like I mentioned earlier on, and we've discovered some amazing things about purpose. And what I know is this: if whatever you're doing is driven by purpose, a God-given purpose, you have this one advantage: you force God to support you.
Wow. Wow.
Simple. As long as it is God's purpose. You know why? Because God pays his bills.
Wow.
You can never say God owes me.
Wow.
The only instance we see in Scripture is he who gives to the poor lends to God.
Lends to God.
There's no other instance where we see where we get to owe God. So if you are a purpose, God purpose driven,
Yeah.
then you incur the favor of heaven.
Wow. Amen.
Wherever we are doing, whenever we are doing, however we are doing things that are purpose driven, we incur the favor of God. Let me give you another example. When a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing.
A good thing.
And he incurs favor
from God.
from God. What is that about? The purpose of man is about family. Genesis 1:28. Fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and so on and so on.
And so on.
That's critical. So as long as we are doing things that push that agenda, God has to give us favor. A young man who's leaving his father's house to engender the purpose of God that says that you must be the head of your own home.
Yeah.
God gives you favor to be able to do that. So I was doing a wedding last Friday, just this last Friday. And I was telling the young man, because you have elected to accept the responsibility of headship for this family, God has to show up and fund you to be a good father to this family.
True.
And give you the favor and every resource you may need to do so. So the 7 pillars of purpose, which I'm sure we'll get the chance to talk about at some point in time, they will help you to understand
Exactly.
how, what, where you must be driven.
Yeah.
As long as you are doing what you want outside of purpose, then you're on your own. Then it's your business. You must fund it yourself, etc., etc. But if it is the purpose of God, guys, you could be a lady who's saying, you know what, I feel my calling is to look after children.
Yeah.
And my business, therefore, is a creche.
Yeah.
That's a purpose-driven business.
Wow.
And God must fund it.
Wow.
He has to. If you're saying my purpose is to these orphans, and yes, you make money in the process. You make a living in the process. That's allowed. But the purpose is it's not about you. It's beyond you.
Yeah.
As long as it is about you, then it's your business, it's your purpose. As long as it's other-driven, God-driven, other people-driven, then God has to step in.
Yeah.
That's the pattern we see in Scripture. Even in Isaiah 1, it's very clear. As long as we are focusing on others other than ourselves, as long as we are selfish, then it's about us. But as long as it is about other people, and specifically as long as it is about God, then what I understand from my Scripture, and certainly what I've seen in my own life, guys, we have bought businesses with zero money in the bank. Multi-million-dollar businesses.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Why? Because God has to give us the favor to achieve his purpose. As long as it's about him, he will fund his business.
Yeah.
I live a good life. I do. And I'm not shy to say it.
Wow.
But it's not because my business is about me.
Yeah.
But it's because the cow that is treading the corn is not muzzled. Christ said it.
Yeah.
Don't muzzle the cow that is treading the corn.
Yeah.
I'm a corn treading God's corn. I'm a cow treading God's corn. Whatever God is needing me to do. And he doesn't muzzle me.
Wow.
He allows me to eat while I'm working. So don't worry about what you're going to eat, Matthew 6.
Yeah.
Don't worry about those things. Seek his kingdom. That's why we are talking about kingdom business. If you seek his kingdom, seek his purpose as to why are you on this earth.
Yeah.
You are not here by chance.
Yeah. Huh.
And as long as you identify why God has put you on earth, he has a duty to fund you. Otherwise, his purpose for your life is not real.
Yeah.
So whether it's a ministry like ABJ, or the church, or a business like ours, or our foundation, guess what? God is our financier.
Amen. True.
Because we are chasing his purpose. This is not to say, please understand me, guys. I'm not saying every business must be, all your revenue is going to the church. That's a good thing. And we want that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever the reason for your business, as long as that business is Christ-centered, God-driven, chasing God's purpose, you have to find God's favor somewhere. Your giftedness is one of the pillars of purpose.
Exactly.
And therefore, that's why giftedness is capital. That's how God funds businesses. That's how he funds ministries. Guys, if I'm let me give my own father as an example. If I'm Bishop Chuda Bismarck, I don't need money to do what God called me to do.
Exactly.
I need to exercise my giftedness.
Exactly.
Do you think Baba Guti has to look for money?
Never.
Do you think Baba Guti has to look for money? To go hunting for money or borrowing? No. The gift, that's why it is written, your gift will make room for you. So if you need room at the bank, the gift will make room.
Exactly.
If you need a room in a financing space or manufacturing space, God will create the room for you via your giftedness.
Yeah.
That's why musicians, Michael Jackson came to Zimbabwe. The president of Zimbabwe stopped this program to see Michael Jackson.
Exactly.
Michael Jackson's gift made room for him. It does.
Dangote's again.
Dangote, the Nigerian, the wealthiest African there is, he doesn't do his deals at official level, at presidential level. Because his gift is making room for him. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, for me and my house, we revolve around our giftedness. Because it's a key bit of capital, it's a pillar to our purpose, and it's our funding. It really is. That is why it's written, I put before you today life and death. Therefore choose life. He just doesn't say choose.
Choose
he even
life.
Tells you what to choose.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how gracious our God is. Our experience has been, as long as we've been chasing God, funding orphans, pastors, different programs that we've funded over the years.
And we have built churches.
We have.
Yeah.
One of the things we do in all our developments of size, we develop property. One of the first things we put, let me give you an example of one development in Chinhoyi. 3 church stands, 2 creches, and I think an orphanage.
Wow.
Those are some of the ways we fund the gospel.
Exactly.
Because funding the gospel is not just giving money. It goes beyond that. We fund different things as God gives us the ability.
Amen.
So my attitude is whatever I'm doing. For example, there are churches which own buildings in town. Just yesterday, I think some of my team members will bear me out who are here. Something broke down, and the quotation was going to be something like $5,000. I don't know. I said to them, no, you are not doing that. Just charge them the cost of materials.
Exactly.
Our labor is free. We are foregoing our profit. They'll never know. But we funded them.
Wow. Wow.
One of the beauties about doing what we do is you do it quietly. Don't have to talk about it. That's why you don't hear lots about some of us. Because it is written, don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing.
Amen.
There is some beauty in doing things quietly. Somebody sent me I found this so profound, so this is not me saying this. Somebody sent me, those WhatsApp things that go around, something that says there is something godlike about helping someone whom you know can never do anything for you.
Amen.
This orphan can never do anything for me.
Exactly.
But I'm going to help them. Exactly. That's the godliness that we are chasing.
Amen. Amen.